Type inference is a feature of TypeScript where TypeScript automatically tries to identify a values type based off of the value itself. So let's have a look and see how that might work. Okay, as we've seen before, this is an example of how we could explicitly declare the type of a value. We had a colon and then the type of the value that we want this variable or constant to be. In this case, it's a string. Now in this new line, we've created a new variable called inferred string, but as you can see, we haven't explicitly defined a type to it. There's no colon followed by a string. This is an example of type inference. TypeScript is going to automatically assert that our inferred string is of the type string, because we assigned a string to its value when we declared the value. And that's really all there is to type inference. It's just TypeScript having a go at trying to identify what kind of type it is without us needing to explicitly define a type of every single value, which is really helpful. In this example, because we've inferred that our value inferred string should be a string because we declared it with the string apple, if we then try to reassign this value to a numerical value, say like the number 5, this would cause TypeScript to throw an error when we compiled it because inferred string has the inferred type of string. And that's type inference. Let's have a look at an example. Okay, so in this exercise, we're going to be covering type inference. And so to get started, I'm going to create a brand new file in our src folder, and I'm going to call it typeinference.ts, and I'm just going to hit save. We're going to be building on the exercise that we worked on in the last session. So I'm just going to hop on over to the basic types file and just copy and paste that into our type inference file. Because we already have values with these names in our other files, TypeScript is currently throwing errors for all 3 of them. And so as a first exercise, we're just going to rename all of these very, very quickly. I'm going to add inferred to the start of all of them. So inferred city name, inferred city population, and inferred is capital. Next up, because we are using type inference in this exercise, we no longer want any of our values to have explicitly defined types. And so to address that, we're just going to get rid of the types after the names of each one of these values. Next up, we're going to be reassigning these values, so let's turn them all into variables by just changing const to let. And now, by hovering over each one of the value names inside of our editor, we can actually see the type that TypeScript has inferred our values as. So let's hover over the inferred city name, and we can see that it's inferred it as a type of string. If we hover over the inferred city population, we can see it's a number. And if we hover over inferred is capital, we can see that it's inferred it as the type of Boolean. That means that we're safe to reassign any of these values to the type that TypeScript has inferred them as. So let's give that a go. I'm going to change inferred city name to Liverpool. I'm going to change the inferred city population to, I don't actually know the population of Liverpool. I'm going to guess it's 4 million. Don't even know if that is 4 million. Okay, once again, I just Googled it and turns out I was way off. It's actually closer to 500,000. So we're going to change that to 500,000. And finally, we're going to change our inferred is capital value to false. And that is just a quick example as to how we can use type inference to our benefit. For simple use cases like this one, we don't really need to be explicitly declaring the type of our value every single time. But on more complex examples, we are going to need that explicit declaration. So we'll come back to that later on. For posterity's sake, let's reassign some of these values to their non-inferred type, and let's just see what happens. So first of all, I'm going to run my compiler by hitting Command and J to open my terminal and then running yarn tsc-w. Next, let's reassign our inferred city name to the number 1. Let's reassign our inferred city population to the word 100. And let's reassign inferred is capital to true as a string. because TypeScript has done the work to infer these types, it has sort of locked us into the types that we've declared them as, and as a result, TypeScript isn't very happy about us reassigning them to types that it has not inferred them as. So just for my own sanity, I'm going to go ahead and remove all of those lines, hit save, and we have some nice clean code once again. And that just about wraps up this section on type inference. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one.